This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Welcome to Community Close-Up. I'm your host, Sharen Skelly, and our guest today is Krysal Stukas from the Women's Center Grey Bruce, and she is the Fund Development and Communications Manager. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk about a lot today. There's a lot of things happening over at the Women's Center. Well, of course, this month is the month that we celebrate volunteers, so I guess we could start talking about that.
Yes.
Do you have a lot to do with the management and the hiring, or I guess you don't hire volunteers, you acquire volunteers, that would be the word. Do you do that at the Women's Center?
A little bit, yeah. So as Fund Development and Communications Manager, I do a lot of work around the different fundraising events that happen at the center. And a lot of the times we are looking for volunteers to help us at those events. Our staff is awesome at the Women's Center and they help out as much as they can, but we also recognize that asking them to volunteer on top of their day-to-day jobs is a lot. So we often look for volunteers for events, and we also look for volunteers when we do different transportation things as well. So we have opportunities for volunteer drivers to help get some of our clients to and from appointments if buses are not working out for their schedule. But yeah, volunteers for events is a really big thing, especially now since we've kind of moved into a post-pandemic situation. As more and more in-person events start happening again, that's going to be a really big push for me personally and for the agency in general.
What kind of events are you talking about? Like what kind of things would volunteers be asked to do?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of the time it really varies. So for example, we just did an International Women's Day event last month at Heartwood Hall, which was great. And so many people came out and we had a nice concert. And we were looking for volunteers to help us out at that event. So going around talking to guests about the different things that we're fundraising, help at the door for letting people in who have previously purchased tickets, or help at the cash as well. So people coming up to the door to pay for a ticket for an event right then and there. And then also, as we start to build out more and more opportunities for donors to purchase things like different merchandise, we look for volunteers to help with the coordination of that as well at different events. But it really varies. A lot of the time we did a garage sale last year. Volunteers helped us just supervise, monitor, help answer any questions, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do you become a volunteer at the Women's Shelter?
Yeah, so on our website, there's a volunteer section which has a little bit more information. There's an application that you can fill out, and then you can send on over to either the info inbox, which is info@thewomenscenter.org, or you can send it directly to me, which is crystal@thewomenscenter.org. And yeah. We do have a process, so there will be a little bit of an interview with some questions just to see if you're a right fit, or to see if what we have available at the time is something of interest to the volunteer. And then we do, depending on what the volunteer opportunity is, we do ask that some volunteers have a vulnerable sector check done, just because the population that we deal with is a vulnerable population.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned getting people back and forth to appointments and that. Do you need volunteer drivers?
Yeah, so we do often look for volunteer drivers. I think we have a couple on roster right now, but it's always helpful to have more that are more available than needed in case someone can't make it or there are different things that arise. So we are looking for volunteer drivers. And if you need more information, or if anyone needs more information, they can take a look at the website or just contact us.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit, if you can, about the services that they offer at the women's shelter.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot. So bear with me. But essentially, we have 3 physical service locations, and then we also do outreach. We have the Violence Against Women Emergency Shelter, and that is for any women and their children who are trying to leave an abusive situation at home. That is typically a 6-week stay, and within that, there's group counseling available, there's one-on-one counseling available, and we also work with we have a transitional housing worker who helps women find where they're going as a next step when they leave the shelter. Another thing that we have is our second stage residential program, which is about a year long. It varies, and it was a little bit longer during COVID, just because we know it was harder for people to find places to live around that time. But it's a year-long program, and it's that next step. It's that someone comes to the shelter, and if they qualify, they can come into our second stage program. And that really is that next step to help women get back on their feet, save some additional money, find sustainable income sources, and really get prepared to start their next chapter free of abuse once they leave us. And then we also have an anti-human trafficking program for youth. And this is a newer program. It was launched in 2020. And this program is for at-risk youth or youth who have previously been victims of human trafficking. And we help in the rehabilitation process a little bit. It's for youth between the ages of 16 and 21. And with our workers, they work on different skills, life skills, safety planning, anything they really need to further their safety when they're out and about in the community. And yeah, they can get through school as well. We can help them with schooling if they're having issues with that. And yeah, we also, sorry.
And you have a hotline, like a...
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a 24/7 crisis hotline. You can access it by calling the number. We also have a toll-free number, and there's also a text service as well. So if you text the text hotline number, you can be in communication with one of our frontline workers really quickly. And that's really beneficial because sometimes victims of abuse can't really get away and make that phone call. So texting is a great option if you need services or just need to inquire more about how to get to the shelter and different things like that.
So you just text the number?
Yeah. So there's a different text number, but it's all on our website as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just text the number, and someone from the Women's Center will be in contact with you shortly to help.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
new to me. Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
It's really good. Okay. I had no idea. Now, the shelter bought a youth house?
Yeah, so previously we were renting a space for our youth house, and we have come into a great opportunity to purchase a property that will be owned by the Women's House or the Women's Center for the youth house. And so we're going to be working in the next few months to retrofit that house to accommodate the needs for the program. So what that's going to look like, some people are familiar, we used to do an adopt-a-room program, and that was for our shelter. And we were able to update the shelter to just be a great space, not only welcoming and inviting, but very positive and uplifting instead of a dark, dreary kind of shelter situation. But yeah, so we're going to be launching an Adopt-a-Room 2.0 program very shortly that will help us retrofit the youth house accordingly. So stay tuned for more information on that.
Okay, this youth house, is this the one that that you would be using for the human trafficking?
Yeah, correct. So it's a live-in program. Yeah. And that new house will be what we use for the program moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know that the shelter is for victims of domestic abuse,
Mhm.
but at one point it was also for housing because it was a shelter because we
Yeah.
don't have housing.
Yeah.
Is it still?
I would say it's less for housing and more for victims of abuse now. Our typical stay is about 6 weeks, but we're flexible in working with each individual case to make sure that they're um, not under a roof. So
Mhm.
if we need to, women can stay longer than that and work with our transitional housing worker to find acceptable accommodations post
Yeah.
their stay with us. But we do recognize that there are a lot of women that are in emergency situations, and we do like
Mhm.
to have a little bit of a quicker turnover to help find additional accommodations moving forward so that we
Mhm.
can help more women and their children.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you also have programs for the children too.
We do, yeah. So we have clinical counseling for the children, which is great. We also have outreach programs for that clinical counseling as well. So we'll do work with schools if teachers or certain school boards identify children in their care that they think could benefit from some additional one-on-one counseling. We do that as well. And our child and youth worker works with those communities to help those children
Right.
get the care that they need. Yeah.
Do you have people that go to court with the women?
We do. So we also have a family court support worker, and she works day and night tirelessly to help women who are navigating the really difficult family law situation. Family law can be super robust and definitely
Mhm.
complicated. So any women who are previous women of abuse can access our family court support services. And our court support workers there to help for that as well. Yeah. And also anyone staying in the shelter or the second stage program or AHT with anti-human trafficking can access the counseling and the court support and the transitional supports as well, but also community members as well if they are not staying with us. I think that's a really big part that often people don't know. So yeah, if you're in the community and you think that you might be able to use some of these services, we're here to help as well.
So how would you go about accessing them? You just call or
Yeah, so
email?
you can call the 24/7 hotline and they can put you in touch with the right person, or you can visit the website and we have different numbers to call for there as well. You can always send us an email. We can always make sure that the right person is getting in contact. But yeah.
So essentially, if you're I hate to say victim, but if you're a victim of domestic abuse
Yeah.
or
We can also say survivors.
survivor, okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to find the more positive word, and I couldn't
Yeah.
think of it offhand. I'm old, you know. Um, if you're a survivor of domestic abuse, you don't have to be actually living at the shelter. Your services are also available if you're living in the community. That's sort of the way you think we should be thinking. You don't
Yes.
have to be living there because there's only so many beds. Your
Yeah.
services are available to people in the community too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we also, so in that bucket, we also have this thing called safety planning, which our frontline workers will do with women who are just not sure how about to go leaving a situation. So they can work with survivors of abuse in that area as well to help them take that first step. And we also have clinical counseling available at outreach and in-house clients. And yeah.
Yes. And so sometimes just calling the crisis line, you might get advice.
Yes,
Right.
our frontline workers are some of the best. They are very knowledgeable in this sector, and
Right.
they are there for you if you need to vent, if you need to look for services, but you're not sure where to start.
Right.
Either way, they can help. Yeah.
So sometimes it's like a clearinghouse. You're calling there and they might say, go here, go there. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm kind of getting the picture now. Okay.
There's a lot. I know.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, now we've got that. But what kind of things can the community do to support I'll say the shelter, but it's more than just a shelter. What can we do as a community? Do you need donations? What do you need? You need money. I know that.
Yeah,
So if someone
money
wanted to, we'll start with money.
start with
If someone
money.
wanted to donate money, how would they do that?
So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can call us directly. You can call, we have a separate line that's our office line, that's available on the website as well. But essentially you can call that line and it'll prompt you to click the extension of the fundraising department. So sometimes you'll get me and I can help you place a donation over the phone like that via credit card. You can also send a check to our administration office. The mailing address is on the website as well. Or you can do an online donation, which a lot of people are opting to do now just because of the convenience.
So much more.
So easy. So yeah, you just go to the website and click donate, and then that'll prompt you to do that as well.
Mm-hmm. And there's always like a birthday. Like I remember I won't tell you what the occasion of the party was, but I had a party and I said, don't bring gifts, bring donate money to the women's shelter. That was the party.
Yeah.
And so, well, I'll tell you what it was. I was starting over. And so I said, to do that, I'd rather have donations to the women's shelter,
Yeah, which is great.
That's what I had.
And those are also like honorable mention volunteers, I like to call them. People who are just super passionate and like take initiative to throw these third-party fundraisers on our behalf. That is something that is so incredibly helpful. As a nonprofit, we are quite short-staffed a lot of the time in the administration side of things. So like the fundraising department, different things like that. So it takes a lot of the weight off of us when it comes to fundraising. And we have a lot of different resources as well that we can provide to those who want to throw those fundraisers. Like I can share logos, different marketing materials, and different information if someone's interested. So yeah, we really appreciate those honorable volunteers.
And anyone can do it, like on your birthday or on your, whatever. And it's fun. And of course it was a bunch of women and, like it was fun. So, and a lot of people do it, a lot of people do that kind of thing for different organizations. And I think it's a great idea. You don't need gifts. You just need fun and people love doing it.
Yeah. It makes you feel good too. Like it's beneficial for the community and it's beneficial for you because it ignites those really great feelings of positivity.
And so that's one way of fundraising and raising money. So, okay, so now you got your money. So the next thing is, well, what kind of donate? Like people always say, I'll donate this to the women's shelter. And I always say, well, wait a minute, you better ask if they need that first. Because like I remember there was a time that Safe and Sound put a thing out, please don't send any more clothes. We don't have anywhere to put it. Yeah. I remember a time when I used to volunteer there. There was a time at the women's shelter when they said, they couldn't take clothes because there was a bed bug issue and all that stuff. So like, what kind of things do you take?
Yeah, so we actually have created a great list of things that we're taking nonstop throughout the year. I will say sometimes if we do get a lot of donations, we have to kind of be like, thank you, but not right now, just because of the storage issue for sure. Yeah. But on the website, there's a wish list section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that'll show you everyone a great list of things that we are taking. Clothing wise, yes, it is a little bit hard. And same with secondhand donations. We've kind of moved towards to directing donors to Mission Thrift for those donations because we have a partnership with them and our women can shop for the things that they need when they get them through them. So yeah, we're in the vein of secondhand donations and clothing to please go to Mission Thrift, but then anything on the wish list, if we have capacity to accept it, we will accept right now. Yeah.
Okay. So the next time someone says, oh, I'll donate it to the women's shelter, say, go on our website and check and see if that's on their wish list.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's personal hygiene care, which a lot of people do donate, which is awesome. Yeah. And also non-perishable foods are helpful as well. So we have a stocked pantry for our shelter cook at all times. And
Yeah. You want to make sure it's something they need.
Yes.
What about Now you said volunteers. We already talked about that. But I know you said you need volunteers for special events and driving, but there must be other volunteer things that you need people for.
Yeah, we're looking towards creating a little bit more of a robust volunteer situation later in the year. It's a little bit difficult right now just because we are working out, okay, what did we lose volunteer wise because of the pandemic, and what can we bring back now safely? And that is a really big value to the agency and to the women that we serve. So we're working on kind of figuring that out now, but it is a lot of driving. It is a lot of event stuff as we get back into in-person events. We also are always looking for people who love the arts. Like if someone is interested in graphic design, for example, we're always looking for volunteers to help with different social media things. Or if someone really likes writing, we're always looking for volunteers to help with different copywriting things and different things like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we've covered the donations and the services. Is there anything that you want to talk about? I've covered everything that I've wanted to talk about.
You have done a great job.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, I don't feel like there's too much more to talk about except just to look out for more about the Adopt a Room 2.0 program.
Okay.
We'll be really looking to the community once that gets ramped up to help us with developing the best youth house that we possibly can. So there'll be more information about that on the website shortly, hopefully, and then across our social media channels. And we are at TWC Grey Bruce on Instagram or on Facebook.
I was going to ask you about any events that are coming up.
Yeah, right now we have an event that Robert's Farm Equipment is putting on our behalf. And there's some more information on our Facebook channel. And they are putting on a fundraiser, it looks awesome. And I encourage you to check it out. There'll be an inspirational talk and some prizes and stuff there as well. And they've done this for us in the past many times, but because of the pandemic, it's finally back for the first time in like 3 years. That's our upcoming event, and it's on April 21st, I believe.
And what kind of event is it?
So it's like a sit-down meal, inspirational talk happening, and there'll be some different prizes and auction items as well that people can win.
Okay. Well, while we were talking about the services that you provide, we could probably talk about, because we have talked about the house that's next door to the women's shelter that you're refurbing for the survivors of human trafficking. But can you tell us a bit about what we should, as people in the community, be doing to help, or what can we be on the lookout for people to help people, victims, survivors of human trafficking? Because that's a big problem.
Yeah, it is. And, I have a lot of people, when we mention it, say, oh, I didn't realize that was a problem up here, or different things like that. I would say to just be aware of your surroundings and be compassionate. I think that a lot of the times we're smarter than we think we are, right? And we don't really trust our gut or our intuition. But if you're in some of those more remote locations or vacation destination spots like Tobermory or the Blue Mountains, like where people typically are staying short term, I would just be aware. And if you see something that looks a little suspicious, make sure you call the police and let them know.
What would you call suspicious?
It depends, right? So without putting a blanket on survivers or victims, anything that just looks a little bit off. I know a lot of the resources for identifying human trafficking is seeing someone who looks much too young to be with someone who looks much older. Different dynamics like that, or someone carrying like 2 phones, and you're questioning why do they need 2 phones? So different things like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And it is true. People think that that can't happen here. It does happen here.
It does, yeah.
And it happens here quite a bit because of the. I read that report that came out, was it 2 years ago, about the reason being that there's a traffic route because of the ferry going out
Mhm.
west. And that's why, because we'd have a direct route, a shorter route.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
unfortunately,
Yeah. And I think, oh, I just lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me, I'm sure.
but yeah, it was written. Who wrote that report? But if you go online, you can just kind of Google it if you Google the right keywords. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it was written by, and I know the women's shelter actually posted it for women to read, for anyone to read,
Mhm.
and I guess to explain why there was the reason they were getting involved in it.
Yeah,
And
I think
yeah,
there's also on our website, there's a whole section about what is human trafficking if people want to learn more and kind of have a little bit more knowledge about what to look for. There's a
Mhm.
section under our resources of what is human trafficking.
Yeah.
And I think that study actually might be linked on that page as well.
Yeah, it's obviously a problem if we have another shelter building here
Yeah.
for survivors of it.
Yeah.
And I like using the word survivor instead.
Yeah.
I kept trying to think, I knew there was a positive word. I should have known that.
No,
So at the shelter in Owen Sound, do you do, now I know the women's house of South Grey Bruce has counseling for sexual assault survivors in Owen Sound. Do you send people to that? Is
we
that
do.
what you
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. So the Women's House is one of our sister agencies. So
Yeah.
we work together a little bit, especially in terms of if there is a woman who's trying to access our services, but say she lives in Kincardine, we send her to them and we share referrals that way. It's just easier, and a lot of the times it alleviates staff in certain situations. So they have a specialty sexual assault program, counseling program that they have. So we would send any survivors who are looking for that
Right.
service there.
I wondered if that's how that worked, because
Yeah.
obviously there is the need for that too,
Yes, definitely.
unfortunately. Do you have on your, so all that information is on your website?
Yeah.
Right, on your website for people to find all that, the resources on your website.
Yes.
And that website is the Women's Center .org. Okay. I'm just checking here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us here on Community Close-Up. All your information has been really valuable. If anyone wants to check out all the stuff we've talked about, it's on your website. And join us again here on Rogers TV. And remember, it's your community, so take part. Bye for now.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Now you can enjoy Disney Plus on Ignite TV. Just say Disney Plus into your Ignite TV voice remote and stream Disney Plus movies and series